Good morning and welcome back to Mojospresso, a caffeine-inspired shot of inspiration and perspective to help you on your Friday with the goal to win the morning and win the day. A big shout out to Dylan Alcott, a big part of the Mojo family, for his incredible French Open win and his 11th Grand Slam. Dylan is currently in quarantine in Sydney, so hope to see you soon, my friend. And a reminder, our second public masterclass on October 27th, also our last public masterclass for the year. Tickets are limited again, and these masterclasses, by the way, are an introduction to the three mindsets and the three key questions that form the basis of an ongoing digital mentoring course that we're rolling out next year. And also, finally, this is our third last Mojospresso episode for season 1. Can't believe we made it this far. So if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss or a question in the last 2 episodes, then definitely drop us a line. Okay, so to today's topic, which is something my grandmother, Bridget Black, said to me when I was a little kid, and I never forgot it. She was babysitting, and I can't remember what the context. I was probably whinging about having to do homework or arguing with my 5 brothers and sisters. When she tucked me into bed that night, she said, "Ben, to have a good life, you've got to keep living, keep loving, and keep learning. Live, love, learn." And I don't know whether it was the simplicity of the words or the alliteration. They all started with L, but I never forgot it. And I called it my grandmother rule, or the L rule. And then fast forward 20 years, I'm in Hong Kong working for Nike, and I'm reading a book by one of my favorite authors, the late, great Stephen Covey, also arguably the world's greatest leadership coach, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm reading one of his books and I turn the page and there's my grandmother's 3 L's as a title. But Stephen had a 4th, which I really, really love. So it became the 4 L's, which is effectively to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy. And the amazing thing about these 4 L's is that they perfectly line up with the 4 fundamental human needs we all have to find balance in our lives: our physical, our social, our mental, and our spiritual. To live is obviously the physical. To love is our social need. To learn is our mental need. And to leave a legacy is our spiritual. So think of your life as a house with 4 rooms in it. And we need to go into these rooms every day, even if it's just to open the window and let the air in. Yeah, we've all got 168 hours in the week. So how we prioritize those 168 hours across those 4, physical, social, mental, and spiritual, are really important to reflect on: how am I living? Yeah, how am I loving? Am I continuing to grow and evolve and learn? And what legacy am I leaving behind for my family or for others? The first L is effectively to live. That's to fulfill our basic needs first: food, shelter, clothing, our physical world and our financial world. But how we live is also relevant, how we spend our time and energy. We've spoken about human doings versus human beings and the great reset that this pandemic may hopefully provide humanity in terms of how we live and reconnecting with ourselves. Viktor Frankl, arguably the world's greatest psychologist, said, "Live as if you were living for the second time and as if you had acted wrongly the first time." Our time and energy are 2 of our most scarce resources we have, but most of us think of time in terms of chronos, which is the Greek word for chronological time or clock time. But there's such a better way, and many cultures around the world think of time in terms of kairos, which means quality time. Yeah, this kairos time is based on how much value you get out of life, rather than how much chronos time and clock time we put into life. Effectively saying that just 15 minutes quality time looking at someone into their eyes and truly honouring them is 10 times more important than all the hours you might spend with that person, but just looking down at our phones. It's effectively asking, do we live by the clock or do we live by the compass in terms of our true north? So with Kairos time, we think differently, we prioritise different things and people, and we stop thinking of time as money and realise it's so much more important than money. And since the Royal Commission into banking in Australia, there is a whole generation of 50 plus alpha males who have woken up and they've achieved, but they're not fulfilled. They've made an enormous amount of money. They've been extrinsically motivated, money, fame, status, titles, but to the detriment of their intrinsic motivations, things that really light them up internally. Realising their potential, getting out of their comfort zone or helping others. And the kids have all grown up and they're thinking, geez, what just happened to the last 2 decades in terms of where my priority was, where my focus of time was. In life, you don't need to have it all figured out. The brilliant musician Quincy Jones once said, in life, just get it to 70% and let the magic happen from there. He also said, make sure there's love in the studio because that contributes more to magic than anything else. Which takes us to the second L, which is love. And this is one thing that every human on the planet is in search of. Unconditional love. Love with no conditions. It's not dependent on what you look like, how much money you have, what you've achieved or what you haven't achieved. It's unconditional. There's no external validation that will ever change that. And this is the most important love of self. And it's the number one issue on the planet right now, to be kinder and gentler to ourselves first, because then we can be kinder and gentler to others. They say the only true happiness is to love and to be loved, but that's unconditionally. In terms of the third L, to learn, and it was Seneca, the brilliant Greek philosopher, there's a lot of Greeks today, that once said, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. And he was one pretty smart dude. The unexamined life is just not worth living. In life, we're either winning or we're learning. So when shit happens in life, please remember that our greatest growth always comes from our darkest times. And the reason that is because it unlocks this amazing sense of humility and of learning. The All Blacks are revered for their culture, and it's completely based on a learning culture. Toyota is one of the most successful companies on the planet, have an ask 3 whys philosophy. Because if you ask someone why 3 times, you can completely break down previously impregnable arguments. Learning enables us to grow. And it was the great US college football coach Lou Holtz who said, in this world, we're either learning and growing or we're dying. So get in motion and grow. And when you learn for intrinsic benefits, not just extrinsic benefits. Because I think we've lost the art a little bit over the last couple of decades, because our education system with ATARs and bell curves and scores and rankings and gradings have become so extrinsically focused. The kids are too shit scared to learn now because of how they're ranked. It's about classification more so than imagination. We're losing the pure joy of learning for learning's sake, just getting lost in a great book or learning a new skill and practicing it, or just getting that dopamine hit you get from solving a jigsaw puzzle. And the last L, leaving a legacy. And we can leave a legacy in many different ways. We can plant a tree, we can start a company, we can start a family. But one of the greatest ways we can leave a legacy is to impart wisdom onto someone else, to share the learnings and the mistakes that you've experienced to the next generation. And believe me, mentors get more out of it than mentees do. I can tell you that for free. But it requires asking yourself, are you just here to show up on the planet and make a shitload of money and win? Or fundamentally you stand for something, you believe in something. There's something that lights you up. There's something you want to be famous for. There's a legacy you want to leave the planet. And at your funeral, these are some of the things that will be celebrated about you in terms of your legacy. And Mark Twain said over 150 years ago, so this is not a new religion, by the way, the 2 most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you ask why, the day you find out why. So asking what is my why and what is my legacy. Now, the really cool thing about these 4 L's, not only do they sit perfectly against the physical, social, mental, and spiritual needs, they also sit nicely against the 6 human needs that Tony Robbins made so famous. And of those 6 needs, the last 3, and in my opinion are the 3 most important, is connection, growth, and contribution. Now, to love obviously links beautifully with connection. To learn obviously links with growth, and to leave a legacy obviously connects with contribution, contributing to something and someone beyond ourselves. And those 3 needs, love, learn, and legacy, also connect with the 3 chemicals in our body that we need for good emotional health. Love and connection unlocks oxytocin in our bodies, the happiness drug. Learning unlocks this beautiful dopamine through pattern recognition and solving problems, solving puzzles. And finally, leaving a legacy unlocks serotonin, the connection drug, giving us that sense of contribution beyond ourselves. So the 4 L's are actually incredibly powerful and important for our mental health. And as it's Mental Health Month here in Australia, it's worth remembering and implementing these 4 L's in some way. How cool is my grandmother now? So the 4 L's work much better when they're working together side by side, interrelated, as each one helps the other one. So don't just focus on one L to the exclusion of the other L's. In terms of living, the first L, if you've lost your job during the pandemic, no one in this world can do anything in this world on their own. So connect with the ones you love, the second L, because that can provide support and advice. Or tap into the third L, tap into their learnings, or perhaps we can do further learnings ourselves to find a different career. Or we can use this time to think about our purpose on the planet, which might unlock a whole new career path in terms of our legacy. The 4 L's all help each other. They're not mutually exclusive. Now, about 10 years ago, I was sitting around the campfire with my 5 brothers and sisters and my 23 nieces and nephews in Dimboola up the Wimmera in Victoria. And I ran a competition to see if they could guess the 4 L's. And while they got living and loving early on, learning and leaving a legacy was a little bit harder. But they actually wanted me to add a 5th L, which I'll see if you can guess it. It is laughter. Because there's not a shred of evidence in favour of the idea that life is serious. One wanted me to add lick, but unless you're a dog or an ice cream manufacturer, didn't make a lot of sense. But I'm more than happy to add laughter. So now we have 5 L's. So we're going to finish today with the 5. Live, to love, to learn, to leave a legacy, and to laugh. So maybe let us know which L is your favourite or which one you're going to focus on today. So that's it for another episode of Mojospresso. As always, thanks for your support. Love your feedback. And until next time, we will love you and leave you and see you on the other side in the soup. Have a great day.